Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Just Some Bodhi's Opinion. My name is Bodhi, and because of various mishaps and technical difficulties, I've had to re-record all of the videos that I had done before. And so for episode 4 and my review, I am not going to be doing as I had done before, where I do like a scene-by-scene review, and I'll just talk about my thoughts as per usual. Episode 4 was the best episode ever. I mean, all my tweets are just shouting that, and everyone's tweets are shouting that. So let's break that down. And at this point, I'm not sure if you're ever gonna see my episode 3 review because of all the technical mishaps. And I was just in awe of Zoe Robbins and her portrayal of Nynaeve, and it just kept building on for episode 4. Let me give my spoiler warning. We are going to be talking in depth from episode 1 to 4 and maybe book 1 spoilers. But other than that, if you like spoilers, come on and join the journey. Now that spoiler warning is out of the way, I just have to say yet again, Nynaeve, badass motherfucker Almira is the best character ever, and Zoe Robbins is the perfect actress for her. She embodied Nynaeve, and when I say that, one of the fears that I had going into the series was maybe they make Nynaeve a badass motherfucker without the nuances that the books had, because we know how awesome Nynaeve is. But what's good with the book was that it showed her vulnerabilities as well, and because we could see her inner monologue of how she thought she was a coward, how she thought lowly of herself even as she was doing badass stuff, you could get that nuance. And we got that from Zoe Robbins. We didn't get a warrior woman, warrior princess type character. We got someone with a range of emotions. This was a healer. And the depth of acting of Zoe Robbins, you could see everything from her face. From super confident to a sudden vulnerability, and it's all kudos to Zoe Robbins. There were so many good things about episode 4, and I would, break it down into number 1, Logain and his portrayal. Number 2, the Aes Sedai and their portrayal. Number 3, the Perrin and Tinker storyline. Number 4, we have Rand, Matt, and Thom. And number 5, we have Nynaeve, badass motherfucker Almira. So we'll go through all of that and all my thoughts about it. Let's talk about Logain and his expanded role in the series. We all knew that this was coming, that he was going to be expanded. And we've seen the Logain teasers where I've also commented that, he looks like a dark Jesus, etc. The cold open for this episode was one of the best. Upon reflection, all of the cold opens have been very good. And so I think this is just on par with just how good the cold opens were. But this cold open gave us a lot of backstory. We got Ghealdan, and we got more than what the teaser was showing us. And it was really, really cool to see how the taint was manifesting for Logain. And deeper within the episode, we see that the taint was manifesting for him. The corruption was manifesting for him as the voices of all the dragons before him. And seriously, and I kept saying this in all my tweets, I would have converted for him. I would have converted for this sexy Spanish-speaking Jesus. And I love the fact that the corruption was telling him to kill the King of Ghealdan. And he didn't kill the King of Ghealdan. He healed the King of Ghealdan. And you could see that he wasn't just mad. He was actively doing something with his belief that he was the dragon. He was not there to break the world. He was there to bind and bring us together. And I really felt that, and I feel all his true believers also believe that. So that was such a great piece of world building for the show. So let's talk about the portrayal of the Aes Sedai. And one of the things that I super love that the show is doing is that it's bringing the Aes Sedai to the forefront, because in the books we don't get any Aes Sedai action until book 2. And even in book 2, we don't actually see them at work, except for when Rand and company would meet them. So it was so good to see them in battle and interacting with them. So that was really nice. And I loved seeing the bond between Aes Sedai and Warders. You could really see, the fond looks that Aes Sedai and Warders threw at each other. And into this mix, we get Moraine and Lan and Nynaeve. And going back to Logain, we see a bit of world building that happened. Because Kirene mentioned that there are only 3 people who can hold Logain. And it is Liandrin, Alana, and Kirene, and they have to do it in pairs. So one deviation from the book is the fact that there were only 2 Aes Sedai who are actively shielding Logain. But I think for the show, it was very good to show that because it gave more focus on the Aes Sedai who were holding Logain. And watchers of the show would appreciate the fact suddenly that Logain seems to be the equal of 2 full sisters and 2 of the strongest sisters who are linked. So that was a great piece of world building that we'll see take fruit later when the candle meets the raging sun. And I just have to say that the secondary and tertiary actresses in this show are of such high talent. Liandrin, Alana, and Kirene have such presence, played by actresses to the T, and they were so good. Like I loved every bit of their on-screen presence, and we could really feel like some history with them and Moraine. I could just watch a show just with them. And Alana Priyanka Bose is so good. And Alana was just so awesome. Another great thing that was happening in the camp was the warder bonding session at the fireside where they were all just, having fun and laughing. And we see that Lan in this turning of the wheel is a more cuddly, smiley Lan. I don't remember who was saying this on Twitter, but I accept it and I'm here for it. And I love the portrayal of Yvonne and Maxime where they were just, cuddling by the fire. And then suddenly Alana picks them both up and they were all like handsy. And Nynaeve was like, oh, are they all? And then right after that, Lan goes, oh, I'm feeling tired too. And then he leaves for Moraine's tent. And then you could see Nynaeve's glance, like that moment where she glanced at Lan. And then it was like, And I said this in a tweet. I said, God damn it, Moraine is so elegant even while looking so tired. And you could see the bond between Moraine and Lan, where Moraine was feeling exhausted and thinking, did they capture the dragon already? And did we spend 20 years looking for someone wrongly? And then we cut to the Tinkers, and I love this sequence so much because the first time I saw the Tinkers, I was not very sold by them because number one, they weren't so colorful, but they imbibed all of the things the Tinkers are known for, which was the way of the leaf. And the actress of Illa was so good at conveying that I was so happy that in this turning of the wheel, she seemed to be the leader of the Tinkers. And they delve so deep on the metaphysics of the wheel. I found the conversation with Illa and Perrin so poignant and so touching to the soul of Perrin and myself, because it really set the stage for the belief system within the Wheel of Time and why it's called the Wheel of Time. Because talking about her murdered daughter, and she persisted on following the way of the leaf, the way of non-violence, the hope for a brighter tomorrow, because as per her words, the wheel will turn out my daughter's soul again, and I do what I can now so that she comes into a world where she can enjoy the life she should have had with me. That was so beautiful. And you could see the show has been pounding this message about souls returning to the wheel and the weaving of the wheel. Because we saw it in Beltane. We'll see it later with Logain when he talks about hearing all the voices of the previous dragons to be better. It's such a great thematic message for the show, and it's so unique, and I love it so much. Now on to Thom, Matt, and Rand. I love that they aged down Elsa Grinwell, and that made Matt connect with Elsa the same way he was connecting with his younger sisters. And that was just so cute, which would be so tragic later. But anyway, I really thought that Rand was gonna do some Jedi mind trick on Master Grinwell, but no, it was just Rand being earnest and honest. The earnest, honest sheep herder that we know, which was great to see because we've been seeing angry Rand a lot, but now we saw level-headed Rand. And I love the subversion from the book where Thom is suspicious of Mat and conveys that suspicion to Rand that maybe Mat is a channeler. That was such a good subversion. And one more thing that I really loved that the show changed was that Mashadar was now this creeping black ink, and how it was somehow possessing Mat from the inside, where he vomited out literal Mashadar, versus the white misty tendrils of the Mashadar book. I love this version because later on when Rand wakes up from the dream and then they run to the barn and then they think, I thought that Mat had gone on and killed everyone. And you could see just the back of Mat. And when we first see Mat, it's with Mashadar on his lips. And that was so creepy. And then when he turns and points his dagger up to the upstairs and he said, "I see you." I thought he was talking to Elsie, and I was like, oh my god, will I see Mat kill a little girl? And then it was the Fade, and then Thom and the Fade, battle it out, and it was really cool. And then they run, and then we see the corpse of Elsie, so that was just tragic. And so having said all that, let's return to the Aes Sedai camp. And I love all the Nynaeve Lan moments. And one of the nice additions was where Lan was doing some prayer, the Malkieri prayer, and then Nynaeve, spouts out some old tongue that she heard. It was something her parents said, and then Lan translates for her because she's never known it. And then it was something about like, we go into the land because they were gonna die, so that our children will always have us. And then it's like, oh my god. And after that old tongue translation, there's an exchange with Lan and Nynaeve where Nynaeve goes, "You're not what I expected, a lap dog." And then Lan goes, "You're exactly as I expected." And then Nynaeve goes, "Which is what?" And then they're interrupted by the Logain army. Rude. And many things happen all at once. First was that Logain got out of the shield, and then the followers are all running, and then we see Aes Sedai in action, and it was fucking awesome. And we see Alana catching all the arrows with the 1 power, and then we see a lot of 1 power dynamics and 1 power battle tactics, and it was just so freaking cool. And then we have Moraine coming in to talk to Logain and asking him why she should believe that he's the Dragon Reborn, and he says that he hears all of the dragons before them and they want to be better. It was fucking veins of gold flashbacks for me. And seriously, at that point, I believed him. Like, I was thinking, why doesn't Moraine believe in him? Like, I would believe in him. And then Karene and Liandrin get up, and then all 3 were shielding him, but he tries to pierce through with Sidon. And Karene, seeing that, sacrifices herself by shielding the other 2, and she gets stabbed right through but with Sidon and gets killed. And at that point, Liandrin rages against him and starts trying to draw more of the 1 power. And at that point, I was really for her. And then she says this. She says, "He killed our sister and I will cut him down." And at that point, I'm thinking, she works as a character. Like, she doesn't need to be a at this point. She doesn't need to be anything other than what she's portraying right now, a red sister who is very passionate about her job. And she nails it, and I was for her. And then Stepin gets in and jumps for Logain in a rage. And then the effects were so cool, where the corruption basically corrupts the axes and then shatters them, and all the shrapnel just mows down everyone except Nynaeve. And it cuts through Lan, through the neck, and Nynaeve, our girl, oh my god, our girl was just there feeling helpless. She's a healer, but there's this man who for some reason touched her heart, and she was like, no. And then and it was that moment where the one power explodes from her, and she was a raging sun, and her braid untangles, and everyone gets healed, and the shockwave just shocks Logain, and it was, oh my god, it was just so amazing. And like a raging sun, Nynaeve, badass motherfucker Almira. She is the fucking Dragon Reborn. I don't care what the canon says anymore. She is. She's all hail Nynaeve. There. Let's end the review there. No. Okay. So we end with just a shot of Nynaeve and Logain saying like a raging sun, and then all the sisters of the Aes Sedai getting in there and linking, and I think they do this to link, they do this action to link, and then they gentle him on the spot. And there was something so tragic with how Alvaro Morte portrayed that, where I think when they finally cut him off from the source and the blackness, exploded from him, there were like tears that ran down his eyes. And then when he was on the floor, he was just sobbing. And that was so heartbreaking. And oh my God. Again, this was such an emotional roller coaster of an episode. I think it was the best episode. I've watched it 2 times now, and it's still the best. Now, a lot of book readers might be thinking like, none of this was from the books. But at the same time, I would say, despite none of that being in the books, it was all within the story beats of all the characters. For Perrin's arc, you could see that he was struggling with his bestial nature, and the Way of the Leaf was this counter to that, and that was just such a beautiful moment of world building. For Matt and Rand, again, they were all still part of that same story structure, that same spine, and it was just a nice little subversion that maybe we're wondering, maybe Matt is the Dragon Reborn. And going to the Aes Sedai, we see already the internal power dynamics within the Ajas. We get a glimpse of politics and why the Amaryllis seat is still seated, how is life in the tower. And finally, we have Nynaeve and Lan just building on their relationship, and Nynaeve herself. I've said it at the start of the video, where we see vulnerability in her eyes, in her facial expressions, and we see also the determination to just get things done. And we saw during the attack of Logain's army, where she was just as confused as everyone else, but she was, taking action and stabbing the guy. And I would argue that everything that we've seen so far continues to be the soul of the characters that we know and love, brought to life in this new turning of the wheel. And it's such a beautiful weaving of the wheel. And I would give this episode a 10 out of 10, hands down. And I continue to hope that the episode quality just keeps on getting better and better. I do hope we get some more build-up of character for Egwene. I feel like she hasn't gotten as much development as the others, because Perrin had his soul moment, and then Nynaeve had her goddess moment, and then Matt and Rand have had moments with each other. I'm waiting for all these GIFs. And I guess I'm waiting for that Egwene episode. So yeah, those are my thoughts for episode 4. I have seen most of Twitter, and I think most of them are also pretty positive. But let me know what you thought and what you took away from this episode. Did you love it as I did? Were there things that bothered you? Let me know down in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Like and subscribe if you liked listening to me rant and rage and rave and review about the show. And if you were super offended about something, just remember, it's just somebody's opinion. Somebody's opinion.